It's about the children. Let me just say this. Yesterday, everything I do is about the children. That's the reason I am, having 5 children, my own 9 grandchildren. I worry about everybody's children in America, of course. I have advice for them whether they want it or not. And one of the things that is so terrible is in this epidemic, because we're saying we have to assault the virus. We have to defeat the virus, contain the virus, stop the spread. And that means we have to have testing, tracing, treatment, masks, spacing, all the rest of it. And we especially have to look into the minority community, which is suffering an undue, disproportionate impact of this virus. Think of this. An Hispanic child is 8 times more likely to be hospitalized with the virus than other children. 8 times. An African-American child is 5 times more likely to be hospitalized from the virus than other children. I mean, this is a challenge to our conscience. But again, they refuse to face the gravity of the situation and listen to scientists and tell us what we need to do. And with their school money that they have, they want to spend the overwhelming bulk of it in only schools that open up. When 62 of the largest school districts in the country have said that that they're going 100% virtual. Another dozen or so more say hybrid, virtual and hybrid, and a small percentage saying they will actually open up with physical presence. And that's fine if the rate of infection in the community justifies schools opening. But you can't say unless you open, we're withholding money from you. Actually withholding money.
Yeah. Mike Barnicle's with us and has a question for you, Madam Speaker. Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Madam Speaker, later this morning, it's expected that 1.1 million Americans will file for the first time for state unemployment benefits. Millions have already filed for unemployment benefits across this country. Apparently, the federal benefits, that program is sitting dead on the table between you and your negotiations with the Secretary of the Treasury and the Chief of Staff in the White House. My question to you is, during your discussions, you and Senator Schumer, your discussions with Mr. Meadows and Mr. Mnuchin, is it ever raised the fact that millions of Americans who have lost their jobs will take months and years to recover economically? Some will never recover economically. No. Some of the jobs they've lost will never come back. Do you talk about these things?
We talk about the economy, but let me just say, I'm sorry to hear that. You have advanced knowledge of the number, that it would be over a million. That would be the 21st week in a row, 21st consecutive week, where over 1 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits. This is a tragedy. And when we're talking, we're talking compassionately about what it means to people and what it means to seniors to get their medicine, what it means to children to safely go to school, what it means to families to have be saved from eviction and money in the pockets, but what it means to the economy. Forgetting compassion, because frankly, we don't have any shared values when it comes to compassion and caring about people. They're in the trickle-down mode, and we're in the bubble-up mode. But if you just think in terms of the economy is strengthened by the fiscal soundness of state and local government. The economy is strengthened by a bigger infusion of federal dollars into putting money in the pockets of people so they spend it, they inject demand into the economy, it creates jobs, it strengthens the economy. The chairman of the Fed, economists tell us over and over, pay now or pay later. So again, our best shot with them is to say, all you care about, in our view, is the stock market. We know that the Fed is shoring up the credit markets, the markets, so that the market can soar, and maybe that's a good idea. But why can't we spend some trillions of dollars to shore up America's working families? Yes, we have that discussion. And what's so heartbreaking is, if we today said we yield to your position, it still wouldn't help those children, those families, and across the board meeting the needs of the American people. In fact, what they want to do in terms of state and local will probably result in 4 million people being laid off. They are interested in the fact, when we talk about what state and local government does, they are interested when we say, and there'll be more people unemployed going on to the unemployment ranks, that perks their interest.
Yeah. All right, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as always, thank you so much for being with us. We greatly appreciate it. And Mika, the numbers have come across. Economists were expecting a little over 1 million people filing unemployment benefits. It was actually a little under 1 million, but not still 963,000 Americans filing for unemployment benefits for the first time.
Up next, new video that proves the president's so-called news conferences on coronavirus are really a waste of time. Plus, new reporting on what Democrats fear could happen if Donald Trump loses. Morning Joe comes right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.